ready.
I call to order at 6:02 p.m. the 1181st regular meeting of the Board of Library Trustees. Executive Assistant Bender, may I please have a roll call?
Trustee Bueller,
Here.
Trustee Easton,
Here.
Trustee Uno,
Here.
Trustee Wittenberry,
Here.
Trustee Wong appears to be absent, but with 4 members, we have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to introduce Chloe Johnson, a junior from Palos Verdes High School, who's in attendance tonight to present the PTAC report. She will now be leading our salute to the flags. Thank you for being here. If you'll come up to the podium.
Put your right hand over your heart and ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion from a trustee to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by trustee Easton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes, it seems. Just a few remarks. I had the chance to attend the so-called mayor's lunch meeting this month, and it was a productive conversation among the 4 mayors and 2 special district presidents that were present. Another thing, Form 700, I'm sure everybody's been getting their reminders if you haven't already filed. That is due April 1st, which is coming very quickly. And one other thing I wanted to mention, highlight, this coming Sunday is the Passport Fair. It's been a great success in the previous, 3 years? Mm-hmm. So this will be our 4th annual, and excited to be able to offer this to the community. So, are there any other trustee comments or remarks at this point?
I'd like to comment that the Passport Fair, our staff really puts a lot into that. And regardless of the fact that, they've done it multiple years, doesn't necessarily mean that it's less work. It just means they know what they're doing. And I am really, really surprised about how much service the library is able to provide to those individuals who take advantage of the Passport Fair. So thank you very much to the staff for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Anyone else? At this point, I'll ask Executive Assistant Bender, have there been any public comments submitted for this evening's meeting?
No, sir.
Okay. Next up, the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the items and recommended actions in this evening's consent calendar?
So moved.
A motion from Secretary Wittenberry. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Seeing none opposed, the motion passes 5-0. Let's see. We'll jump over number 8. And now number 9, upcoming Board of Library Trustees conferences and events. Deputy Director Roy, please.
Thank you. Starting off on Saturday, April 25th, we have the PVLD Volunteer Appreciation Event. Now, I do want to note that the time there says 1 p.m. That is the ending time of the event. It should have said 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You have probably seen a save the date email sent to the trustees, and that there are invites coming out soon, the official invites. But this is going to be at the Malaga Cove Library, Gallery and Garden on the Saturday, April 25th, starting at 11 a.m. This is an event that we try to do every year to invite all of our volunteers and appreciate the hard work that they put in. So it is a fantastic way to meet some of the 200 plus volunteers that we have, that many of which come on a weekly basis and do a variety of tasks for the library. The other item on the agenda to mention here is that the Serving with a Purpose Conference for 2026 is this Thursday, May 14th. We talked about this briefly at the last regular board meeting. Serving with a Purpose Conference is specifically for library trustees as well as support groups like friends groups, foundations, and it's the staff as well that support those groups. So this one is in Ontario at the Convention Center. Today, coincidentally, is the last day for the early bird fee. So if you do want to go to the Serving with a Purpose and you know you want to go, there is still time to click the link in the agenda and sign up and get the early bird cost. After today, you can still sign up. It'll just be $20 more. There are a couple of things we wanted to mention that didn't make it to the agenda in time. One is the groundbreaking for the new George F. Canyon Nature Center. That is a pretty substantial remodel. I think they are planning to double the square footage of what was there before. You may have seen an email last Friday from Executive Assistant Bender letting you know about that, and I do think some trustees have already expressed interest in attending. And then Director Addington will be there as well. So that's Tuesday, March 31st at 10:30 a.m. If you want to go and you haven't already expressed interest, please let Executive Assistant Bender know. And finally, one other item that didn't make the agenda is the State of the Peninsula breakfast that's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. And this one is going to be at Terranea this year, May 21st, 2026. We are looking a couple of months ahead, and the reason we're doing that is because this event does tend to sell out. The State of the Peninsula breakfast is a chance to network with a lot of the community leaders. There is a presentation from the 4 mayors of the 4 cities on the Hill. So if that's something that interests you, please, again, let Executive Assistant Bender know as soon as possible so that we can get those tickets before they're gone. And that, Mr. President, is all I have to mention.
Deputy Director, can I
Yes.
just clarify on
Sure.
the George F. Canyon
Yes.
groundbreaking? I had it at 10, you said 10:30.
10:30 is what's written on the printout that I have from their website.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Agenda item 10, we'll now hear a presentation updating us on the activities of the Peninsula Teen Advisory Council. So I'll welcome up young adult librarian and PTAC supervisor, Catalan, and PTAC member, Chloe Johnson, back to the podium.
Hey everyone, my name is Otto Catalan, and I'm one of the young adult librarians that manages and supervises the Peninsula Teen Advisory Council, also known as PTAC, here at the library. Today I do have one of our PTACers with us. Her name is Chloe Johnson. I won't say too much about her since she'll be presenting herself a little later on. But since the last time you saw us, we've been hard at work at 2 of our upcoming programs happening in the month of April. Our first one is on April 1st, and it is a Jeopardy/trivia program in which people of all ages can join us to answer questions and have an afternoon of fun. We have given them a run-through and made sure the questions are all fun and not too difficult. And I think Chloe can tell you about the second one that we're going to be doing.
Hello, my name is Chloe Johnson. I'm a junior at Palos Verdes and a PTAC member. We decided for our upcoming movie, we will be showing The Devil Wears Prada. We thought this would be perfect and a fun choice, especially since the second movie is being released the very next day. We also planned another day for a clothing swap where participants can switch clothes with each other, hoping everyone can find the perfect outfit. Thank you.
And now we can leave it open to some questions. Cool, but if there isn't any, that's totally fine too.
Well, they definitely sound like fun programs, and the clothing swap I know will be super popular. I know there's a lot of teens that like to refresh their wardrobe, especially if there's something that's out there that they've had their eye on.
Yeah, I think they came up with it because, thrifting is really popular too right now. Vintage is in as well. It is a good way to also reuse old clothing that people may not want. And so we decided to mix that with The Devil Wears Prada because, clothing in general, right?
Perfect.
So yeah.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Thank you for all your work on the committee. How many members are there currently, and where do they go to school?
Yeah, currently, I believe I have 19.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
so we cap at 20. And I take requests all the way at the very beginning. I try to get as many as I can, but I do kind of have to cut it off maybe about 3 months into it because that's when all the work starts to happen, right? So I really want to work with that group. But I have a lot of Palos Verdes high school students as well as Peninsula Palos Verdes high school students as well. And I think that's the majority of it. I did have, I am opening it up to students who happen to live up here, but they don't go to a school in general around here. I think it's, you know, a good opportunity for them to contribute to the library if they would like to do that.
Thank you.
Other
Cool.
questions?
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving up to our next item is compliance with Assembly Bill 2561, and I will ask Human Resources Manager Uden Armstrong to join us with this update, an annual update.
It is an annual update now. So you may recall that Director Addington presented on this last year while I was out on leave. Assembly Bill 2561 took effect in September 2024, but our compliance with it took effect last year. It requires an annual report to you, our board, regarding our recruitment and retention for the year. There's additional requirements if we're at a 20% vacancy, which we are not. And it also provides an opportunity to SCIU 721 to make a presentation to you and at a board meeting at the same time. So to comply with this bill, I have put before you this memo, which addresses the basics of our recruitment efforts for this last year. It includes our vacancies, those numbers, and I also just wanted to state that SCIU 721 was provided with this memo, along with a reminder that they are able to participate in this meeting if they so choose. But again, we don't have 20% vacancy. We're very fortunate in that way. I think our vacancy number is about 4% with the 3 openings that we do have. And as far as those openings go, I would like to share that we are in active recruitment for all 3 positions. We finished interviews for our maintenance worker 6 and volunteer coordinator position this week, and we'll actually begin interviews for maintenance worker 1 next week. So I have a sense that all of those will wrap in April and will be fully staffed, hopefully, fingers crossed. And as far as recruitment, we're very, very fortunate that we do get quite a number of applicants for our open positions. And also, on the flip side, our employees tend to stay for several years. We also, which is not in the memo, recently started posting on a paid-for service on governmentjobs.com, which is supplemental to our platform with NeoGov. And I was really pleasantly surprised for the maintenance worker 1 position in particular to see a significant increase in quality applicants. So given those positive facts, there's no need from our perspective to change any of our recruitment practices at this time. And I welcome any questions that you may have.
I actually had one question. So when I clicked on the open position link in the materials, it says there are no open positions, but of course your memo says there are 3.
So you are correct. All postings have been closed.
Okay.
So they're technically open because they're not filled.
But you're not accepting more applications?
Correct. We're no longer accepting applications. Okay. Our application window for all positions is about 2 weeks, unless we feel like at a midpoint or close to the close at the 2nd week, we need to extend it, which we have from time to time, including for the maintenance worker 6 and volunteer coordinator position. We extended both of those for an additional week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Seems like the numbers kind of speak to the like the retention culture here, and that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Or? Well, we'll ask you to stay where you are for item number 12,
Sure.
and we'll go right into that, a discussion of this year's annual performance evaluation of Director Addington.
Sure. So I met with President Butler last week to discuss the director's annual review process, which, believe it or not, we need to begin now. And we determined the meeting layout and timeline. We will be sticking to the process that we've used over the last few years, which includes 3 special meetings scheduled over the next few months. But in an effort to avoid any additional date commitments, we are going to try to schedule at least 2 of those meetings prior to a regularly scheduled board meeting. So I will be following up with an email next Monday to solicit your availability based on some dates in April, but the schedule will go as follows. Meeting number 1 will be scheduled for sometime in April. At this meeting, it's a 2-hour meeting. Jennifer will present her self-evaluation. You'll have an opportunity to ask her any questions, and then she will leave after the first hour, and all the trustees will meet to discuss their individual assessments and start coming to a consensus on the overall evaluation. Following this meeting, President Butler will put together a draft evaluation, which is what will be reviewed at meeting number 2. For meeting number 2, we hope to hold this meeting prior to the May 21st regularly scheduled meeting. So if it works out, this would be scheduled from 4 to 5:30. And in this meeting, you'd review the document that President Butler puts together and finalize the evaluation and goals that will be presented to Director Addington at meeting number 3. Meeting number 3, the final meeting, we hope to hold this meeting on June 18th, again from 4 to 5:30. This is the regularly scheduled board meeting. And the board will meet with Jennifer to present her with her final evaluation and goals for the year ahead. And again, I will be sending you an email on Monday to reiterate all of this and then also to figure out what our date for April will be for that initial special meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So was the May meeting, that's the day of the State of the Peninsula, May 21st? And then we have a board meeting that night?
It is a breakfast, the State of the Peninsula.
Yeah, and then our board meeting, and then that meeting. So I'm just
Sure.
noting that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
Do we need to look at an alternate for?
I don't know if we need the full hour and a half. That one might be doable in just an hour if we, start a little bit later.
And I'm just noting,
Okay.
that it'll be a heavy day.
A long day.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have a facilities update from Facilities Manager Gutierrez.
Hello and good evening. I'll go into the update of Deep Valley. We did start the drilling of the caissons, and at about 5 to 7 feet, we ended up hitting concrete footings for the building. We believe they are for the retaining wall that is adjacent there right now that we will be using as part of the support system for the new area. But after drilling 2 of them, one of them we hit at 5, the other one we hit at 7, we decided that we needed to stop what we were doing and get the engineers involved. And so we have a scheduled meeting at 9:30 on Monday with the architects, soils engineers, and structural engineers, and the contractors and myself. And we're going to go over what that means, what are some of the options, and what we need to do to move forward. And so we are kind of at a standstill as far as the caissons are concerned, but we will, that may take some time to resolve, but in the meantime, we're going to continue to start breaking up everything that's out there. We are going to keep that in place for all of the drilling because it offers a little bit more support for the excavator that's out there, but we feel like it would be a good idea to get moving on that since the other one's going to be delayed a little bit to find out, how far we need to drill down, or if we need to have something of engineered differently than what the caissons are. So that's where we're at right now. I will have more of an update on that. I'm sure you'll probably get an email update between now and the next board meeting on what some of those options are and what we plan on moving forward with. So that's really the fairly large facilities update.
Do you
Any
know
questions?
what you ran into, or do you think you know what you ran into?
Without excavating the entire area, we're not completely sure.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're cross-referencing the plans that we have of the building, but those plans don't have the footing in that particular spot, which happens on the plans that are structural for this building. We've run into that a few different times where there's columns where there shouldn't be columns, or vice versa. And so we may have to excavate that area to actually see what it is that we're dealing with, and that might be something that we're talking about. They might just want to core through it and then continue drilling and then tie into it. They might just incorporate it into like one massive concrete pad that's going to hold everything down. So right now we're going to talk to the soils and structural engineers and really see which direction they want to do to make sure that we're supporting that structure like they would like it to be supported.
Yeah, so you don't see the mast, you just happen to tangentially hit.
Yes,
Okay.
on both of them. And I was out there and I had my hands on the rail, and you could feel when the bit was turning over the concrete on the railing.
Oh.
And so it tells me that that's probably tied in somehow between that retaining wall. The contractor and I think that it might be the footing for the retaining wall. They might have had that portion poured in the middle and tied in with the columns that are coming down for the buttresses that are above. It's right in between the two. But since that's not on plans where it's supposed to be, those are all theories. Without excavating it completely, we're not exactly sure.
Okay.
So we will have the engineers involved, and then from there we'll have more definitive answers.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you for the update. And next, we would like you to help us with the following item. Consideration for exception to policy number 7100.0 on purchasing. And there's a memo in our agenda packet regarding this one-time proposal. So, I'll hand it to
All right, thank you. As stated in your memo, we have a cabinetry inside of our staff kitchen that is kind of falling apart from previous water intrusion and wear and tear over the last, 27 years. So we are having to replace hardware, but then we're running out of the wood to actually screw the hardware onto, and then we're having warping, and there's just been some issues with it. And as you can see, we did get a proposal in 2021. It's been on the docket for a while on like what we can do to mitigate those things. That proposal did come in at $41,000 from MZN Construction. More recently, we were working with a highly recommended cabinet and design company. They do a lot in education and hospitals, and they have a branch in Houston and here. They are a certified minority-owned and LGBTQ+ company, and they came back with designs that staff really liked. And so we just asked them, okay, well, how much would it be for you guys to install this? Can you give us a proposal? And that proposal came in at $25,000, substantially less than the several-year-old, 5-year-old MZN proposal. And so what we are asking for is to accept their proposal so that we can go direct with them and just have them rip out and replace the cabinetry that's there right now, without putting it up to bid for contractors to come in and do it. And the reasoning behind that is we would need to have them create shop drawings, which would cost us about $2,500, so that then we could give it to general contractors so that they could bid it for the design that we're looking for. And so that would cause, a delay in time. but it would also cause us to put more funds into that project where we could just get it done for 25,000, and we've already got a bid from a general contractor who, you know, they add 10%, and then they have project management fees and things like that on top of it. So just kind of brainstorming, we thought it might be a good opportunity for us to be able to save some capital in the district by managing it in-house and then going direct with the cabinet maker and having them take care of it. And so anything that was, as far as the electrical that would need to be moved, which is minimal, my team would be able to do, and the plumbing would all still be in the same positions.
So we originally got a bid when? In
2021,
2021.
and that was for 40,000 5 years ago. So things have gone up substantially since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what my real question is in a certain way, we're kind of, shall we say, cutting out the middleman.
Correct.
Okay. So we're not going to damage any relationships. Enough time has passed between the original bid and now that we can go direct to the parts suppliers, shall we say, and act as our own general contractor effectively.
Yes,
Okay.
and this is a totally separate company that wasn't involved in the initial bid for the $40,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Director Addington mentioned something about a refrigerator not working properly. That's not part of this bid.
That is not part of this bid, no. That would be separate.
And that's something that you anticipate will be a cost in
I
the
think
future?
that that would be a cost that I will probably put in next fiscal year's budget, yes.
Okay.
We were able to move a smaller refrigerator into that area. The bigger refrigerator that we have, it has a piece that's not working, and the warranty and I are having a little bit of a battle on whether or not we think that they should cover that. And so that is taking longer than as expected. And so when we do have that remodel at that point in the new fiscal year, I might look at a much more robust commercial refrigerator, since this refrigerator has been a reoccurring issue. This is the second one that we've had in the last 8 years. And so I think I would end up looking at more of a commercial freezer refrigerator solution that would give us longevity and not have these same issues that we've been having with the refrigerator that we're putting in there, which is, you know, basically a residential refrigerator, but staff use it a lot. And so we've had warranties called on it, and then eventually they just needed to replace the last one, and then now they're fighting me on just doing the repair at this point. And so, while we do have a smaller refrigerator, and I'm still working on getting the repair done, I think that in the future, a commercial refrigerator freezer combination would be called for in that position.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
I was looking at the exclusions in the contractor bid that you sent us, and I was just wanting to make sure that you were comfortable, because some of those look like they could open it up to more expenses down the line. So I just wanted to kind of push on you a little just to make sure you thought through that and you think that this is going to be the price. You don't see any issues like running into footings or things like that within the kitchen.
Those are pretty boilerplate general exclusions that we get on those, and you can't guarantee that anything's going to change until you actually start ripping things out and putting them in. This is an outside envelope of drywall behind in the cabinetry, so it should be generally straightforward, so that those risks are mitigated, but I can't guarantee that we're not going to run into something that we then might need to, you know, talk about a change order or something like that. Which is generally why we would normally ask for a budgetary line item rather than a contract of, you know, the $25,000 contract. We would usually ask for like a $30,000 budget in case if we did run into anything, then we could just keep moving forward. But on this one, since we had the contract that was there and we didn't quite have the refrigerator conversation or anything like that, we figured that, you know, saying that we would go into contract for that $25,000 contract might be a better method to go about it for this particular reason. But if the board is willing to give us a $30,000 budgetary line item instead, so that if we do run into any areas, we might be able to mitigate that pretty quickly without having to bring it back to the board for consideration, that would be helpful as well.
So just to be clear, what you're asking tonight is that we don't require the 3 bids, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be the motion if we were to make one.
Yes, the motion would be something along the lines of you would give staff permission to enter into a contract with D-Tank Plus for the $25,000 contract. And in addition, if you wanted to give us a budgetary line item of $30,000 to complete that kitchen, refresh.
Is there any previous relationship between anyone here at the library and D-Tank Plus? Or how were they, how did this connection get made?
They've actually been very involved in the design for the mirrorless circulation desk, and that is the relationship that we've built, is working with them at the mirrorless circulation desk, which has been going through a redesign for about a year and a half now, between discussions between them and staff, and then kind of nailing down really what we want. We had contacted several different companies about that remodel, and this is one of the companies that came out that was very highly recommended by one of those other companies that we've used to replace some of the furniture here, which is Cube World out of Orange County. And so then we went independently with the D-Tank Plus as far as the design of that, because Cube World kind of fell out, and then at that point we just continued the relationship with D-Tank Plus because they were the most responsive and had the best designs and the highest recommendations out of the other companies that we were working with for the mirrorless redesign. And so right now they are working on getting those drawings together so that we can go out to competitive bid over there, which is how we know that it will be $2,500 to get their drawings done, because we're doing that right now for that particular job. That is much larger scope. There's a lot more that goes into it than removing and replacing the cabinets. That's going to have carpeting, some carpentry, abatement, and things like that involved. So we definitely want to go through the whole process with that. But in this particular instance, we figured that we could both save the district's time and money by going direct with them, and given the relationship that we've built over time and given the cost point that they were able to supply us by going direct with them.
Is there any concern that it's non-union labor?
It's non-union, but it's still prevailing wage. So they do reach all the benchmarks for that as well. Prevailing wage is only charged when the contractors are on site. And so by them being able to basically build everything modularly inside their shop and then come out and do the install, it really mitigates the amount of prevailing wage that's actually charged, because the ones that are making the prevailing wage are the ones that are physically on site putting the cabinets in.
Are there any other questions or comments, concerns? Would someone like to make a motion?
If the language might be baffling, we could suggest, and you can tell me if this sounds good, that in addition to the recommended action, that the motion is made as stated with a total project cost not to exceed $30,000. That would cover those contingencies that Facilities Manager Gutierrez was talking about. So I guess the motion that we're asking for is the recommended action with the additional language saying total project cost not to exceed $30,000. Would anyone like to make that motion?
To move the meeting along, I will, I so move.
Thank you, Trustee Uno.
All right, we have a motion from Trustee Uno. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, item number 15, an amendment to one of our policies related to the election of trustees. I'll turn it over to Deputy Director Roy.
Thank you. We have a little bit of housekeeping here. This is basically a policy that has existed in our policy manual for quite some time and then went away for a few years. This was either done unintentionally during a standard review and edit of our policy manual, or intentionally without the understanding that the county registrar and clerk's office requires the language in there. It is language that's pretty standard that they've provided to us that needs to be in our policy and has existed in our policy before. So it was just an oversight that it ever made its way out of the policy, and we're just adding it back in so we can be in compliance with the county offices.
Oh, so we're just simply adding back in language required by the county.
That's exactly correct.
And I do not believe that it was taken out by those of us who reviewed the policy. So I think
Could have
it
been
was just because I don't even remember us discussing it. So I don't believe that we did it. So I think it somehow just fell off.
Could very well have been a case of cut and paste without the paste.
Now, so I did have a question because, so it didn't appear for the June 2022 election. Is that correct?
It was,
Because then we had another election in 2024, or we had an election in 2024.
it was removed in 2022. I'm not sure when.
June?
Yeah, because it says
June 16th.
Yeah.
And then,
But we've not gotten any notices or issues from the county registrar's office that, other than the fact that I do believe they reached out to Executive Assistant Bender and said, please put this back in, or
right.
it needs to be there.
Right.
So I don't think that, that we have any consequences or remediation or fixes that need to occur other than getting it back into
well,
our
yes,
policy.
because I took advantage of that option in the 2024 election.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about this is if it was inadvertently removed, it was approved by the board. It was never unapproved by the board. It was never brought to the board to say, let's remove this. Specifically, it was just an oversight in
Right,
the,
right.
yeah. So we're fixing a clerical error, basically.
So regardless, people will have the option if there's an election this year to.
Yes, and they've had the option all along. It
Yeah,
just wasn't.
Because as I said, I took advantage of that option.
Exactly. That's great.
I'm sorry, how were you notified of this omission?
Through the county's office to Executive Assistant Bender.
They're probably doing
There.
an audit.
They're doing an audit.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they want to make sure the language is in there. And when we took a look, we actually, Executive Assistant Bender and I both looked back at our past policy manuals and found it there and kind of traced it to the date that it went missing or around about the year, and couldn't really figure out, what happened to it. So that may remain a mystery, may very well have been just a copy error, but it needs to be back and should be all good and well once we pass this vote.
So
Okay.
I don't have any issue with that, but I, of course, took the chance to read through the whole policy. And I'm not sure if we can even change it or if this is something that the county requires you to do it this way. But it does say that the newly elected trustee takes office the last Friday in November, as opposed to, the next meeting of the Board of Trustees that would follow the election, which would probably be before that. And I just thought that was a little odd. And if this was a chance to consider changing that, I wanted to raise that issue.
That would be something for us to look at in a future agenda item, simply because it falls outside of the bounds of this specific red line. But it's a good point, and we can make a note to check on that language and see if that's something, and I don't know if you know Executive Assistant Bender, if that's language they provide to us. that
It
we-
was language that the county registrar's office told me over the phone that that's when everybody's term runs out the last Friday in November. And we've made a concerted effort to try to have swearing-in ceremonies prior to that, so they can be seated at the December meeting as a full-blown sworn-in trustee, and we will continue to do that, but that is the language that they said we should use.
Okay.
So
So
what
there is
we
leeway.
do is different than what it says? Am I hearing that correctly? because it says.
Which line
it-
specifically are you looking at, so we can take a?
It's like the last line of the first paragraph under 8200.
80/20?
80, yeah, I'm sorry,
80/20.
80/20.0. I didn't see the dot.
I think we probably have to agendize it for another
Yes, and-
Yeah, that's
conversation.
fine. And so, but maybe we should look at that. And the other thing was, under 2020.6, it says, you know, like, for example, in my case, it's, instead of filling the rest of the term, it says that if someone, you know, takes over by appointment, that they just go to the next election. And that could have the effect of, you know, not having us, what's the word? You know, we could all end up on the same, same date. We wouldn't be staggered. That's what I'm trying to say.
So
So I just thought maybe those two things bear looking at. I don't, again, know if we're allowed to change those or not.
Yeah, I don't believe we would be in this meeting, but my suggestion would be that President Butler, when he meets with Director Addington, take a look at whether or not we need to bring this section as a whole before the board, whether there needs to be updates, and then we can also do some investigation before that meeting as to whether or not any of this language is required, whether we can change this language. We obviously want it to reflect our practices, but we want to make sure we comply with whatever the county requires of us. So we'll find the right path through those straits.
Thank you very much. At this point,
Could
yes, please.
Can I just ask for clarification? So,
Yeah.
so what do you believe the issue is with this, with the appointment and the election?
The way I read it, my notes here are that it could potentially get us off our rotation. You know how we have 2 board members and then 3 board members. So if you're not fulfilling the entire term of the person that you're replacing, but you're just going to the next election, then that could get us off of that rotation. So I just thought it was something to consider.
Yeah, I don't.
So, for example, if the appointment was for Trustee Park's spot and his election or his term is over this year, that would not coincide with the next election. What does it say? Until the next general election?
No, what I mean is, I don't really I think Trustee Parks was up, right? He would have had to
This
have been-
year.
It will be up.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue in this case this time, but had his been up the following year, it might be, because then you'd be putting that position up with 3 or 2 or however many the others are. Does that make sense? It would,
But the fulfillment of the term would remain on the same schedule, right?
Oh, I see. So the line, the person appointed to fill a vacancy shall hold office until the next general election.
correct,
So,
rather than the rest of the
so
term.
had he been, had longer,
That is a good catch, I guess. We should talk about this
Yeah.
then.
yeah.
It
That's
should
what I
be
was trying to understand. So
maybe
thank you.
No,
modified.
that's what I was trying to say.
But you know what, like we were saying, put it on the agenda, and now we have a clarification as to what we're having difficulty with the language on.
Yeah.
Maybe we can call the county and ask them for what their interpretation is
Yeah.
and give them the scenario that is giving us pause.
Yes, I definitely think we need to do some research on our end and then bring some information back to the board, or at least to the board president to decide.
Well, and it's been revised in 1988, revised
Yeah.
in 2005, revised in 2015. So something could have happened during that period.
Could be. So we can look into that one and add it to our items to the future agenda as necessary. Of course, if there's an explanation, that would make it unnecessary to need to meet, then that can be an informational email to the board.
I think in practice, if it were to happen, we would kind of do it keeping with the term of the person who's vacating. But I see what you mean. In writing here, it's not.
That's not what it says.
It's not what it says. So interesting. Okay, thank you. So let's get back to the proposed action here. Can I have a motion to approve the amendment to policy 8020 as presented by Deputy Director Roy? and staff today?
So moved.
Motion made by Secretary Wittenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 None opposed. It passes. Thank you very much. Number 16, Deputy Director Roy, can you share with us your information on CSDA Board of Directors call for nominations?
Sure. So we have the option as a special district, and member of the California Special Districts Association, to nominate one person if we feel like it to run for this open seat, which is seat C of the Southern Network. The one thing I'll mention about this is that this seat is currently held by a library director, Nikki Winslow, who's the Altadena Library District Director. So what's really good about this is it's the first time in quite a while, certainly that I've been paying attention, that we have a sitting library director on the CSDA board. So I feel like Director Addington and I both know Director Winslow. She is a stalwart advocate for libraries, and I'm sure a great voice on the CSDA board for libraries in general, and obviously special district libraries. So she has our vote of confidence. I don't see any reason to recommend someone run against her. It does say that she is the incumbent running for re-election. Unless we had a very passionate board member whose dream was to be on the CSDA board, and then the procedure here would be to vote on a nomination. So obviously that's optional. We don't have to vote on a nomination unless the board wills to do so. So
these seats can be held by either a trustee,
a trustee or usually a general manager, one or the other. Mm-hmm.
I will say that I had the opportunity to hear her speak at CLA.
Uh-huh.
She was phenomenal.
Yes. Yes.
So she has my full confidence.
She has done outstanding work at the Altadena Library District, which is my former employer, and is just a great advocate for libraries throughout the state. So I was thrilled to see that she was on the board of the California Special Districts Association, and feel like libraries and special districts are well represented by her being on there. So.
There are only 11 of us in the state, right?
Yeah, there's
Special
not that many,
district library.
and only 4
library
in
special
our
districts.
Southern California area. And I know that when I was the acting director in Altadena, they revived a dormant for some time tradition of getting the directors together for a lunch every month or so. And I know that since I've been here, that Director Addington has been meeting with all of those special district directors regularly, including Director Winslow and the directors for Buena Park. And what's the other one I'm not thinking of? Us, Altadena, Buena Park, and it's slipping from my mind at the moment.
Okay.
Placentia.
Thank you. Mhm.
Well, great. Does anyone want to nominate anyone? I don't think so.
So you don't need
nominations.
anything from us.
We do not need anything at all unless somebody has a burning desire
Right.
to be on the CSDA
Right.
board.
So, I mean, are they looking to cast the vote or looking just for nominations?
They're just nominations at this
Okay.
time. The voting takes place electronically later.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Sure.
District Director's Monthly Report.
Okay, hopefully everybody's
We
had
all
a,
have.
yes, had a chance to look at it. You know, I read through this looking for highlights, as Jennifer will normally call out a few things, and there were just so much. I marveled at how she could pull anything out of this without really digging deep into it. I actually wanted to read it word for word, but I won't do that here during the meeting. I figured I might be in the unique position, since Director Addington's not in attendance at the meeting, to just talk about what an amazing resource this monthly report is for anyone who may not have had a chance to read it, even for our staff, for members of the public, obviously, and definitely for the board. Just the breadth and depth and scope of what this captures is always amazing to me month by month, but I feel like when I read it, the amount of programming that is accomplished throughout the district and the resources that we provide in the infrastructure from IT and facilities and everything that this captures really answers a lot of questions that anyone seeking to know how this library district is doing and what's going on here would answer. So I feel like this is in a lot of ways a love letter to our staff, to the volunteers that work here, to the partner organizations that work with us, and all of the work that they do across the district. So I won't call out anything specifically except for our Pay It Forward Award, which we do we mention every single month. And this year's, or this month's, for February, was particularly special because it was posthumously awarded to our longtime and beloved staff member, Lorenzo Orozco. And last month's recipients were the IT department altogether, and they had this to say about Lorenzo. IT always liked working with Lorenzo. He was dependable, had a quiet, dry sense of humor, and never seemed judgmental, no matter what the topic was. He didn't like to smile in pictures, but he sure liked to smile and joke with staff off camera. Lorenzo was a consistent, thorough, and reliable when it came to taking care of our building. Lorenzo, buddy, it's not just the IT department. All of us here at PVLD will definitely miss you. So I felt like that was a touching tribute to Lorenzo, and I do want to open it to questions if anybody had any questions about anything in the report. But I appreciate how much is in here, and I'm so glad that we have this. I always tell myself, one day I'm just going to pick out a year, and I'm going to read all 12 of them, like, in a row. And I never do it. But I think that would be cool. What happened in, 2020, let's don't go 2020. That would be a wild one. But 2019, maybe. Just read all of them.
I have a quick question about the link
Link
integration.
Plus. Yeah.
So you mentioned it's staff tested it out. Is it available now?
It is available. It is live for everyone. So if you go into our catalog and you actually search for an item that we don't have, you will see a Link Plus logo. Like, search it on Link Plus. It is a little bit of a separate kind of search engine, so you do have to go through that Link Plus icon and into the separate collective catalog for Link Plus. But you will almost certainly find it, unless it's an extremely rare book, and it will be sent here free of charge. It's a very seamless process for you. It's way quicker than ILL. Sometimes it's quicker than even we can get books from our own branches. It is truly amazing. And I will say that a lot of work has gone into not only the setup, but once things went live, just kind of tweaking the details, making sure the workflows were easy. So I do want to commend our circulation manager, Ketsi Diaz, who has championed this from way before, when it was just a concept and an idea that she thought would be great for PVLD. And then we have our Link Plus clerk, Nick Perino, who does a lot of work on the back end for just making sure that the orders are coming in, the books are coming in and out. And then our digital services department, our digital services manager, David Campbell, and our digital services librarian, Eric. And of course, in the middle of trying to say everything, I can't remember Eric's last name, Eric Adams, have worked extremely hard on the cataloging aspect of it, making things look right, making all of the cataloging, searching link up the way it's supposed to. So I think that as patrons start to come to the desk and say things like, do you have this book? And we look it up and it's not here, and we're able to say, we actually have access to it through Link Plus, and here's how that works. And they start learning how convenient and efficient this service is. It is just going to grow more and more popular, as time goes on. And once we really feel like we're clicking on all cylinders with all of the workflows, we're still working through a couple of little, strange quirks. Things might turn up, disappearing in the system. Little things like, a title that was requested at one branch is actually over at another, and why is it doing this in the system? But once we figure out all of those tiny little wrinkles, then we'll do our big PR push and start getting everyone aware of how amazing that this service is. So, and we're just talking about access to hundreds of thousands of titles that are not able to be physically contained in this library, but now available to PVLD patrons. So thank you, Trustee Easton, for mentioning that,
Oh,
because it
yeah,
is
that's
something that
amazing.
is truly
Exciting.
special
Yeah.
and that we're very excited about. And I shouldn't even talk about it without mentioning how crucial that the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation have been to funding almost all of this for our public. So we appreciate their financial support throughout this process as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question about the One Book, One Coast featuring, they called us Enemy by George Takei.
Okay.
So I've seen other libraries, promoting what they're doing around it. So I'm curious what we're doing. I saw the video on the screen when I came in, but it just, posted it.
Yes, we have a lot of plans in the works, but we haven't gotten too far into the publicity for it. But I don't have at my fingertips everything that we're doing, but I can get all of that into an informational email to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Now, Community Relations Committee report, Secretary Wittenbury and Trustee Easton, please.
Okay, well, it was kind of a busy month. So we first were at the economic forecast at CSUDH, about, I think, 4 out of 5 of us. Sorry, Rose. I think we all really enjoyed that and learned a lot. So that was a wonderful event. And then we also, of course, had the groundbreaking here, which we already heard a little bit about from Daniel. And that was also a wonderful event and very well attended by the whole community. So I was really happy to see that. And then my personal favorite, honestly, was the African American Living History Museum event held here at the library. It had been postponed by 2 weeks because we had the shooting out on the street the day it was supposed to occur. So I was concerned that maybe the students wouldn't be able to rally and come back in 2 weeks. But we had a really good turnout in terms of the student participation, and it was life-affirming for me. I really looked around that room and I thought everyone in the community should be here for this. And so I'm committed to next year getting the word out better to different demographics on the Hill so that we can all come together and experience what was a truly, truly wonderful event. So hats off to everyone on staff who made that happen. I know people were here working hard to see that went off without a hitch. And then last but not least, I did attend the Chamber LAC, the Legislative Action Committee meeting, and did find that there was one thing possibly relevant to the district, and that is that there has been a sort of rash of litigation of people trying to find businesses or services that are not 100% ADA compliant and bringing lawsuits. Some of that is getting pushed back in the courts, and there is a bill going through AB 649. We're asking that the legislature also look at including websites in their protections for businesses. And so I would just suggest that we take a really good look at our own materials, and especially the website, and make sure that they are, in fact, ADA accessible.
Well, I can
Have you done that?
mention that we went through in the past couple of years a very substantial compliance review in collaboration with the Office of Civil Rights to make sure that our website was compliant with all the ADA stipulations. And our digital services manager, David Campbell, continues to work with staff anytime something is submitted to make sure that it meets those compliance standards. So that's something that they spent, I believe, over a year to get it up to standard
That's
in compliance.
wonderful.
And then was submitted to the Office of Civil Rights for review and went through the entire sign-off process. It was part of an audit that the Office of Civil Rights does, and that we worked with them to make sure that we reached compliance on. So we feel pretty confident in that part, and I know that ADA compliance is something that our facilities manager, Daniel Gutierrez, looks at every single time they move anything from a bookshelf to a cabinet. So that's something that's been top of mind for all of us. My experience in libraries is that it has been quite common for people to come through, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of public agencies, and look for weak links and places where they might be able to litigate. So that's good to hear that there's legislation looking to at least address, some aspects of that. And then the other side of it is that we stay on top of it ourselves. So thank you for mentioning that.
Well, and
Be
thank you
interesting.
for saying that you're on top of it.
Yes,
I thought it
absolutely.
warranted bringing up. And that concludes my report, but I think Rosa had something she wanted to add.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I also want to add that similar to the One Coast, One Book program, our library has its own version, the PB Reads program. And the trustees may have remembered that we received a copy of Mark Sullivan's Beneath the Scarlet Sky a couple of meetings ago, and he came to Palos Verdes last Friday and spoke to over, I think, 100 people. Very well attended Friday evening in Palos Verdes. And he had he wrote a phenomenal book, a historical fiction novel about a young Italian man who rescued Jews over the Alps during World War II, and it was an unknown sort of remarkable story. And he researched it and went to Italy and found this gentleman at a time when the author himself was at a very low point in his life. And so the book was inspiring not only for him, this man's story, but also for the people who read the book. If when we do it again, I highly encourage everyone to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Government Relations Liaison Report, Trustee Uno.
Before I do or say what I'm going to say, did we take out the PLFF 1? We're not liaisons any longer, but we were supposed to still get reports from Director Addington or Ryan.
That's true.
I feel like that was removed at some point simply because we don't no, there was no.
No, it was not removed. It was,
Discussion?
we were no longer going to be the liaison, but we would still get reporting from you all.
I remember doing a couple of those reports, but they seem to be the same every time, just because
Right.
we don't attend the.
I mean,
full
which would
meeting.
be fine,
Yeah.
you could, but because, I was willing to vote that we separate the trustees from being the liaison if we ensured that we were getting updates. And so, I'm seeing it's not in here, and so just, for
Do you
you
know when
to
that
think
was? I'm
about.
not really recalling this conversation. Was it like December, November?
I feel like we had one. I feel like we had one report last time. We've been having them until this
Yeah.
time. This is the first time I haven't seen it.
I don't believe we had one
Last
last
month?
month.
I don't-
Really?
I don't remember giving the report last month.
Well, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention and didn't notice it. But I am going to say that I would like to see that back in the agenda. Because
Maybe it
that
could-
was one of the reasons I was willing to vote that we no longer took that position.
I guess we could merge it into the district director's monthly report or something like that. 'Cause, I mean, it's so not substantial at this point, any update from them, that we'd get from Jennifer. So, she could integrate it easily into her section on the monthly report.
I think it carries different significance. And we can, have a discussion about it, but that wasn't the intent, that item was removed from the agenda.
Does the group give us a quarterly report anymore?
My understanding is we'll get an annual report, but that Assistant Director Roy and Director Addington would attend those meetings and would provide us with updates.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, just to flag it. And if it's not, I don't know, whether it should be monthly or quarterly, if
Right.
you feel like there isn't anything substantive, but just to make sure that we know what's happening with them.
I would go ahead and just further add, and Tammy will probably verify, for years and years, when I was the liaison, one of my famous lines was, we had another garden variety friends meeting. And that was just basically to acknowledge that the stuff that happens every single month that's relatively boring happened again. And every once in a while, I would go ahead and pepper it with, you know, a small tidbit that wasn't, you know, sharing anything that couldn't be shared outside of school. But at least it demonstrated I wasn't sleeping through class.
That's about what I was. My reports from the last couple of them came from the Peninsula Library Friends Foundation newsletter rather than the meeting itself. So just the
but-
call out.
Right,
You know.
and,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just so that we don't want to get into the act or the belief that we're no longer paying attention, we're no longer in partnership.
Sure.
And so, you know, that it was in the agenda every other meeting. And, you know, for us to now not have it, you know, I think it's not a good practice.
And keep in mind, you know, I understand that they, as an organization, feel that they need to go ahead and grow in a particular direction. But also keep in mind, it is still the practice of this district to go ahead and when people show an interest in donating money to PVLD, we direct them to what used to be the Friends to now the Foundation. So it's not like, you know, we're just kind of losing interest in them, even though to some extent they have, you know, lost a little interest in us being interested in their workings.
And I know we're off topic, so.
Yeah, so.
You know, just,
Items for
President
future
Butler, I
meetings.
recommend that you have this
Yeah.
conversation with Director Addington.
Okay, noted. All right, government relations liaison.
So now my government relations, unfortunately, I have my notes in my phone, and I walked out of my house without my phone.
Oh.
But rest assured that next month, I will have a full report, because next month is CSDA. Wish me luck on the airlines. You know, get in there, but
Okay. Hope so.
I'll have a full report next month.
Sounds good.
Good, thank you. Okay, items for future agendas. Any other things that, yeah?
So me again. All right, so I'm trying to wrap my head around May 21st. So the primary election is coming up, and I know that this library is hosting the election, correct?
Yeah, it's a good, yeah.
And so that's,
Yeah, that was a meeting I had.
I don't remember how early, but I know that there's early voting, and so,
Right, so our May meeting is,
So our May meeting is at Malaga Cove, I
Yeah.
think, right?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, so.
yeah.
Okay. So just if, at the next meeting, we can have a little more detail about, you know, what it entails for us to host the election. And, I mean, because you're going to also have to move some meetings out of here because of that. So just so we understand the full impact to the library.
Well, and to your point, I think the special meeting that we just scheduled ahead of that would also then be
Okay.
at Malaga Cove?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll figure out some kind of review of the text in policy 8020 for discussion, probably at the April meeting.
Yes, please. Right, and there were two issues with that,
Mhm.
8020.0 and 8020.6. Just so you have them.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good.
And Ryan, do you have what Jennifer has already standing for
I
April?
do. There was very little. This is Jennifer's notes for month over month, other than a facilities update. There's a note to finalize the director annual review if needed. I'm not sure if that was accomplished today, and then the standard. So it was very light from her notes, but I do have to add on these two items for discussion. And then also to take a look at that agenda item for the Friends Foundation liaison. Yeah, if we call it liaison anymore, maybe a different name, maybe
Yeah, I
Friends
don't-
Foundation update.
Yeah, I don't remember what we were calling it,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Some kind of update, yeah.
And just a point of order, I did get a note from Executive Assistant Bender that there might be an addendum to an agenda item we've already passed. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not sure, per the rules of our decorum, that we can go back to an agenda item. Does it need to be discussed?
It doesn't need to be discussed. It is just a further facilities update on something that people might be.
Just because we're on an agenda item for items for future agenda, does it pertain to that?
It does not pertain to future agenda.
Then we cannot discuss it under this agenda item. So my recommendation would be to send an informational email to the board if it doesn't need like a decision or discussion. Okay, then let's do the informational email. So that's all I have in Director Addington's notes, and then we have 3 items for consideration. We will do some investigation and
Yeah. Okay.
learn more about.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on future agenda items? Okay. All right, at this point, can we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
A motion by Trustee Easton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. 7:15.
Wow.